This is Poosh Ultimata again, and I am completing this interview with Bobby Velour. From our previous two questions, we've learned a lot about you, Bobby. And in the last interview, you told us about, you referred to people who influenced you from other places around the country, some very out-of-the-way places. So my question for you today is, can you tell us a few stories of your own experience performing in some out-of-the-way place? What stands out as really being a memorable experience in one way or another? Could be a really funny one, or it could be just something that made an impact on you. Thanks, Bobby.
That's almost an impossible question, Poosh. It's like, what's your favorite song or the Desert Island movie game? I've had so many gigs in so many venues that have provided me with great stories, albeit some harrowing and hair-raising. Let me reflect on a couple. One time in Iowa somewhere, we were playing at a Grange Hall. Lily and the barmaid was with me. I think it was one of the first gigs she sang as part of the show. If I recall, she sang some Streisand tune. At any rate, we were both dressed to the nines, all glitter and shiny like. The hall was packed on a Saturday night. The audience was a mixed bag of Sunday go-to-meeting attire and overalls with denim shirts. Our first set was mostly jazz standards, Come Fly With Me, Witchcraft. I think the ballad might have been Someone to Watch Over Me. I remember the dance floor was just about a ghost town. It was nobody during that set. During our break, this big guy comes up to me and says, "Looky here, mister. You got a real smooth voice. But in these parts, we like our dancing a little more swirly and bright. When you all start up again, do Shapoopy from the Music Man. That'll get things going right nice." I said, "How about Wells Fargo Wagon from the Music Man?" "Shapoopy." "How about Gary, Indiana?" "Shapoopy." "How about Iowa Stubborn?" "Shapoopy." So, we opened the second set with Shapoopy. There wasn't a square inch of real estate available on the dance floor the rest of the night. The big guy finds me after the gig and invites us to spend the night on his farm. Not in that fancy Motel 6 in town. Y'all will wake up to a farmhouse breakfast and the best hoe cakes you ever tasted. Hey, we took him up on it. Lily and the barmaid and I, we had to share an 80-year-old feather twin bed. Hey, no funny business. In a spare ground floor bedroom. At 5:30 Sunday morning, we're awakened by the sound of rushing water outside our window. After about 5 minutes, Lillian gets up and looks out the window. She says, "Bobby, you gotta see this." So I looked outside and I'm face to ass end of a 600-pound box hog having his morning pee, the stream like a fire hose. They called us to breakfast 20 minutes later. Best breakfast we ever had, to this day. Fresh eggs, hoe cakes with homemade butter, thick-cut bacon, and surprisingly metropolitan coffee. Thank you, Shapoopy. Let's see. Another memorable gig spans about 35 years. I booked a job in Lewiston, Maine at a place called the Blue Goose Lounge. When I arrived, let's just say it wasn't the MGM, or the Holiday Inn for that matter. There was one beautiful thing at the Blue Goose. That was Lily and the barmaid. That was the day I met her. She was slinging drinks and I was doing a few sets of singing and stand-up. Things took an awkward turn during Fly Me to the Moon when a tall, blonde, athletic, and might I say underage girl comes in. She tells Lily and the barmaid her car broke down outside, and could she please have a vodka and grape soda. She kept getting louder and louder, when suddenly her father bursts in. He's even louder. After a few minutes of verbal abuse, they left. By that time, I had stepped off stage and was smoking a Virginia Slim with Lily and the barmaid and getting to know her better. I don't remember anything else about that night except that Lily and the barmaid has been touring with me whenever she can for the last 35 years. Moving forward, last year, We get a call from the Blue Moose Lounge in Maine. Well, we're giddy as schoolgirls, thinking it's the same lounge we met in, and we thought it would be a real kick to play there again, just for the nostalgia. Here's where it gets crazy. It's not the same lounge. The Blue Moose Lounge turns out to be not much more than a shack in the woods with bring-your-own seating. When the show started, there was a rowdy crowd on benches and lawn chairs. The show went well. They even threw panties up on the stage, although they looked more like granny panties. But during the show, Lillian and I look at each other in amazement because we recognized a voice from the past, a loud voice. And there, cheering us on, is that tall, athletic blonde from Lewiston, all grown up. Maybe even a few gray hairs. We chatted after the show, and she told us that she tries to hear me whenever she can, because you never forget the first time you hear Bobby Velour, or the woman who served you your first vodka and grape soda. They're trying to book us again in either 2020 or 2021. Small world, wild times.